welcome to the Made in the Mist podcast, the podcast for entrepreneurs by entrepreneurs. Now please welcome your hosts, Emma and Dan.
Welcome everybody to another amazing episode of the Made in the Mist podcast, a podcast for entrepreneurs by entrepreneurs. We're here in the Money Mint studio at the Niagara Falls Innovation Hub. And of course, I'm always joined by my amazing co-host, Emma.
Hello, everybody.
And today, again, we're bringing, for the first time ever, we're bringing a guest back. And to put it into context, we're bringing you back before Jim Diodati. So that's kind of a big deal here.
That's wild.
Well, welcome, Matt, everybody.
Yeah.
So Matt Guarasci, Matty G, an entertainer, social media influencer, million projects on the go, always doing great to promote the city and really support individuals from the city. And today, you're bringing a guest with you today, and you guys partner on new opportunities. So the show's all about you. So perhaps you can introduce your guest and kind of how you guys met.
Yeah, this is one of the best business partners in the entire world. One of the most brilliant minds I've ever met. And this is my partner, Hamza Baig.
Hey, Hamza, how are you doing, man?
Doing very well. It's a pleasure, guys. Thank you for having
Welcome
me.
to the podcast.
Thank you for, and you're coming from Toronto?
In Toronto, that's where I'm based.
Down there, and then you guys work together, partner together. How did you guys meet?
Yeah.
Where did it start?
Yeah, for
Tell us
sure.
that story.
Let's dive into it. So, Hamza and I met through one of the first co-op students I got with Invitco, and we developed a really good relationship over the years. And he said to me, he's like, Matt, he's like, you have to meet my friend Hamza. He's like, you guys will just. It's going to be explosive when you guys work together in some sort of ways. Like you guys just like have to meet each other. So I think Bashar introduced us. Shout out Bashar if you watch this. So Bashar was just like, you guys definitely have to connect. I think we had maybe like one or two calls, and we've been talking ever since. We've been together ever since.
What was the first synergy? Just entrepreneurship or?
Yeah, entrepreneurship. We were both kind of like in like two different states of like our business and stuff when we kind of first got connected, and I could tell that everything that he wanted me to do in like the partnership or working on the contract, I did and fulfilled. Everything that he said that he was going to do, he did and fulfilled. And you know, it's so rare that you find that nowadays, people just actually sticking to their word of saying that what they're going to do. So we were always like kind of keeping each other kind of in check, and it was just a great relationship overall. And we actually just met for the first time this year.
Oh, in person?
In person at my birthday.
So that was an online relationship.
It was an online relationship, but now we're in IRL.
How modern
How modern I know, yeah. So it was.
You didn't meet on the apps though.
No, we met
the
through
entrepreneurship app.
Yeah, we met through Bashar, and Hamza has an amazing story. I would love to get into it, and we started working together on a whole bunch of different projects. We started working with a dating coach that Hamza connected us with, where we redid his entire sales pipeline, his creative strategy, drove conversions to his coaching program that went over very, very well. And Hamza has a vast background in AI and automations. So I'm going to pass the mic over to him.
I was going to say, we heard enough about
you. I know, exactly. So I want to pass the mic over to him and let him tell his story and see where we're at now.
So Hamza, welcome to Niagara Falls Innovation Hub.
Thank you.
First time here. I've been in the Falls before.
Yeah, a couple times.
Okay, what are your thoughts about the Falls?
Fantastic.
Yeah, we got to move you down here one day.
Oh yeah,
always repping the Falls. So welcome, and love to hear kind of what you've been working on. I know that Matt said AI and automation, and for our viewers who perhaps don't know what that is, because it can be so vast, perhaps you can start with a definition of what each of those are, and then how you work with each of those sectors.
So there's applications where businesses can now put ChatGPT into their business, and that's sort of where I come in, because I've understood how to kind of manipulate these models to achieve certain outcomes. So I can tell ChatGPT, okay, this is who you are, take on this persona, act as the employee that would work for this business, and I want you to book an appointment to all the leads that sign up through Facebook ads, for example.
Wow.
Or if a lead is visiting a website, I want you to act as like the product specialist. Here's a list of the entire inventory that this business supplies or sells. I want you to be an expert and answer any questions that this lead might have. So I can kind of manipulate the AI to achieve these outcomes, and then I go to businesses and I look at their current operations, and they'll show me what they're currently doing. And I can identify, okay, AI can be used here, 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 here. This is what I want to build for you. And then we kind of take on these projects from there. That's the AI side of it. But then there's also just general automation. So there's so many different softwares and tools that exist now online. Like there's softwares that can do pretty much anything. And businesses aren't aware, they don't have the time to research, okay, this software can do this, or this process is being done manually, but it doesn't have to be. That's where I would come in and recognize these opportunities for automation. And I would piece together all these different softwares, build them this nice flow of just work that gets done completely on autopilot, which typically would take hours by one of their employees.
Wow.
So that's my job. I just go into businesses, organizations, figure out these bottlenecks, and just build these different products and services for them.
Just overall efficiency. Sounds
Yeah,
like,
exactly. Yeah.
Holistic. That's amazing. Because it was even automation. I mean, even what I'm familiar with of like with marketing functions, that all like automating like email campaigns and everything like that's existed, but it's advanced even more now. So, how much would you say it's different from maybe like 4 or 5 years ago, even?
Oh yeah. So I mean, these things existed. Like CRMs always had the email marketing capabilities where someone would still manually have to set up these campaigns and write them out and set them up like, week 1, send this, week 2, day 5, whatever, right? Like they set up the workflow themselves.
The whole drip campaign, everything, yeah.
Yeah, so that always had to be done manually still. But now AI can come in and just come up with that entire thing for you. So it'll write the copy, it knows the most optimal times to send it, it knows how to address the person based on their persona or avatar. So it just takes over everything.
Wow. And can I ask, like, what would you say a range of like, what's the cost on the business, like for more automation versus the AI?
Yes, the AI stuff is higher value and it requires more work to build. Like it's not super simple as I'm making it sound.
You're training the model,
Yeah.
right?
It's all
Exactly.
about how you train it.
Yeah. So as best as we can get the data and the more extensive training we can do, the better the output is going to be. So for me now in the position that I'm in, I do these higher builds. So we're looking at upwards of $5,000 to $10,000 to do a proper build out for a good chatbot that has all the necessary knowledge and stuff. But when I was starting out, just basic models just to get it out there, I would charge, a couple $100 just to get that experience. But now it's getting so advanced that I can justify this.
Well, it's crazy, right? Because, I'm assuming that the reason where people were hesitant in adopting this is they maybe perhaps too complex for them to understand. Or they're worried about the disruption of the workflow, or they're worried about the learning curve with new technology. So what are some of the things you kind of do to offset those worries for the businesses?
Yeah, a lot of people don't want to change, and that's what I faced early on. That was my biggest struggle at the beginning.
Well, because if you did start a couple of years ago, it was just coming out, right?
Exactly, yeah. So people weren't aware of it, but now thankfully, like the media and like the news and all of that, it's kind of been on my side, where there's articles being released every day about businesses need to adopt AI, and there's so much fear mongering that if you're not a business who adopts this technology, you're going to be left behind.
Yes, that's great.
And that's a reality that they're accepting now, which makes my life a lot easier because I just walk through the door and they're like, oh, thank you. I needed something like this because I've been so worried that my competitors are using all these chatbots and I have no idea where to start. Can you please help me with this?
Yeah, it kind of sounds like even at the consumer level, like to this day, I have people randomly like, have you heard of this chat thing? I'm like, yes, of course. Like there are people still just discovering it now, like more at a consumer level, but businesses, like it's nice that these tools are more available to them and it sounds like you package everything. Is that where more Matt came in? Did you guys work together to create like an action plan of how you bring this to Niagara?
So how it kind of, Hamza and I, we first started out working together on a bunch of like different projects where I would handle a lot of like the sales, the communication, the relationships, that sort of thing. And he would focus on doing a lot of the build outs too. Obviously he's incredible at sales and stuff too as well. But that's where we found we had really good synergies kind of flow. And I remember one of our first clients that we started working with was a dating coach in Toronto. And we had Hamza completely automated his whole back end sales process, kind of like it shed some insight on like how to do creative ads to kind of garner certain attention online. And then when we kind of put the two of that together, we ended up getting one of the best returned on ad spends that we ever did. We spent $300 on TikTok ads and converted $17,000 worth of sales.
Oh wow!
So needless to say, it was
get on my TikTok.
Yeah,
that conversion. Right?
Yeah. So yeah, it was really great, and that's I think that was one of the moments where we kind of knew like we had a really special kind of thing that we could do. And then Hamza's been putting out a lot of educational based content around just how to build AI and different automated workflows. And then that's how that came in. So I think that's a good time for me to pass the mic back off to you.
Yeah.
And talk about.
Are you really building him or is the AI building him?
Exactly.
Yeah, don't tell anyone.
Yeah, exactly. You don't have to work anymore.
There's another secret business partner we haven't met.
AI is training the AI model.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. So, going back to a lot of these businesses, trying to adopt AI, because one of the biggest fears is, the replacement of employment with AI. And, there's a stigma that, if you introduce AI, you're going to get rid of people. And that's not necessarily the case, right? So how have you found in a lot of business that you've introduced this to, Are they removing positions? Are they reallocating positions? How do they work with their employees to make sure that their employees are taken care of, but they're still advancing their business?
Yeah, so that's a good point. And honestly, it's somewhat of like a morbid topic because like this is happening in real time around us. Even with businesses that I don't work with, there's still mass layoffs taking place. Companies are downsizing. Like it's a serious problem that's happening right now. And it might not just be because of AI and automation. Like there's like money is dried up in terms of VC money. So there's less investment.
Absolutely.
Startups have over leveraged themselves. So they're cutting back. So a lot of people are without work.
Our startups. Yeah,
exactly. More so like globally, not just here. But
yes.
The issue is that people are losing their jobs. And I think what they have to do now is reskill themselves in a sense.
Yes.
So AI is coming. AI is taking a lot of jobs. And that's an unfortunate reality, not just for the builds that I do, but people adopting it for themselves. They're also noticing that. But what I try and do now is I've shifted to the education side, where it's like the average individual, their job may not be required in the next 1 to 5 years, but new jobs will be made.
Yes.
And those jobs are people who know how to do what I do, basically, just manipulate AI to achieve business outcomes for people.
Perfect, yeah.
And use it correctly. So, like, for example, the other day I saw a new job position on LinkedIn that was for a senior prompt engineer.
Wow.
And the starting salary for that was $250,000.
Okay, well, I'm in the wrong career.
A senior prompt engineer, you said.
Exactly.
So can you explain what that exactly
Not prom,
is?
Emma. No, she said prompt.
Yeah. And that's exactly my point. Like a role like this is something that no one knows what it is, or like 2 years ago wouldn't exist, right?
So how do you even apply for that? Like, what's the qualifications?
Yeah, it's just someone who knows how to write good prompts for ChatGPT.
Yeah. And it's all, what's crazy is that, coding was a thing of, perhaps a past, and now it's all about prompts, right? It's the new coding, right?
Yeah.
And it takes a special, a characteristic, special skill to do those prompts, because it's, I've had my parents try using ChatGPT, and it's just like, that looks like that looks like some AI wrote that.
It gives it a bad average. It's like, it's so repetitive. I was like, then train it. Give it feedback.
100%.
Yeah.
It's all about how you train it, for sure.
Yeah, it's crazy. So sorry to interrupt, but going back to that senior prompt position at $250,000 a year. Wow. Yeah. So more of these jobs are coming out, is what you're saying.
Yeah.
And they're high skilled jobs, so they pay more, in fact. Right?
Exactly. And because companies now, like one employee can do the work of 5 people, now that salary can be allocated to that one person. So the salaries are going to be
saving money, right?
Exactly. The net profit is still good for them. So these new jobs are going to arise. So people now just need to focus on re-education and reskilling, because you don't need to learn how to code anymore. You don't need a 4-year degree.
No, exactly.
Learning computer science and how to program, because if you can prompt correctly, the same outcome of that code can be done through AI.
Wow.
So that's what I try and push and tell people, that just start re-educating yourself, because everything you've done over the last 5 to 10 years is kind of becoming obsolete.
Yes.
And I try and say that in like a nice way. I don't want to call people out, but it's the reality.
Yes, it's still important to know, but the world's changing. That's all. That's all.
Yeah. I remember when I went to Brock, I took like the first year where there was like a course completely dedicated to Twitter. You know what I mean?
Excellent.
So like X now X. You know what I mean? So it's like it's totally different now of how the landscape has completely shifted, and it's going to continue to shift. And that's why I feel like us being a little bit more focused on the education side with it, we want to just like help as many people get educated with this to give them the tools and resources to ultimately succeed.
Well, none of that. You're basically going in there and be like, you're going to lose your job, but here, have some free education how to get your job back. So how did you start into the AI? I mean, you're 25 years old, young guy. So, obviously this was kind of, always at the forefront of your life, but how did you get into prompting?
Yeah, I can give you a background of like my whole story, but so my background is in software sales. So I went to school for finance. I went to McGill.
Oh, no way, nice.
Yeah.
Shout out to John McBain, one of our previous
I saw
here.
that. You had him on.
Yeah,
that was really cool.
Great. Yeah, no, awesome. So, sorry to interrupt, but I had to give the shout out to John.
Cool. So I studied finance. I wasn't into it. I did some internships. It wasn't like what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
So I transitioned into sales. That's kind of how I supported myself through college. And then after, I worked at a bunch of different startups selling software.
Oh, nice.
And then around 2022, I had the opportunity to sell my own software. So I found out about this tool where you can basically just resell it. It's a software that exists that helps businesses with a bunch of different stuff. So it's like a CRM that has all these features. Sure. But what you can do is you can basically buy the rights or the license to it, and then you own it essentially.
Okay.
So overnight, it became a software owner, and that was really my startup.
That's cool.
So I went to 2022. I just went to local businesses in Toronto, and I was just pitching this software. Like, this is CRM, can do all of this stuff for you. It's really cool, all of that stuff. So I started my own software company. I got a bunch of clients. And then at the start of 2023, ChatGPT came out.
Yes.
And then all of my clients were like, oh, what's this all about? This is so cool. Can you show me how to use it and this and that? And then at the beginning, I was like, no, this is not what I do. I'm not interested in this. Like, leave me alone.
Buy my software, leave me alone.
Opportunity kept knocking.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. So like I realized they weren't stopping, right? ChatGPT was getting stronger, more demand was there. Mm-hmm. Eventually I was like, okay, screw it. Let me learn what this is.
Yeah.
And then I did a deep dive. I learned everything I could about ChatGPT and
just
OpenAI.
on your own terms, or did you take courses or
on my own, just YouTube.
Yeah.
I think YouTube's honestly the best resource.
Yeah. Oh, shout out YouTube.
Yeah.
YouTube University.
Yeah. Pretty much though, honestly.
Yeah, honestly. Yeah.
Anytime I have to attempt fixing something at home, I always whip out the YouTube
That's
video.
it.
And then it never gets done, and then I pay a professional. But I try.
It's almost as if you guys are both entrepreneurs.
Exactly.
It makes sense. Okay, so you took a very entrepreneurial approach to it and took ownership of your learning.
Yeah, and then I basically I tried to master it as best as I could, and then I started putting it in place for my clients. And then what I realized is building these chatbots and implementing this AI stuff. This is the stuff that was the stickiest, that they loved the most, was making the most impact in their businesses. Software was fine, but this is where all the demand was, and everyone just loved this stuff. And then at the mid-2023, I decided to just do a full pivot into an AI automation agency, just go all in on this because this is what people want. And then what happened is I continued that up until the start of this year. And then I really wanted to scale that whole business. So I started posting content online on Instagram and TikTok, just about the stuff that I've built. So the workflows and the chatbots and all of that stuff. And what ended up happening is those videos did very well. So I've till date, I've done, tens of millions of views. Like a lot of these videos have gone super viral.
Wow.
Yeah.
I didn't think it was appropriate to ask how many followers you got.
Yeah, over 50,000 on...
Combined over 100,000.
Come on.
Wow.
It's very exciting. So you guys were connected in just like the peak of your growth then, or you were just rebranding, rephasing then a bit, right?
We did, yeah. It was kind of right before the education part kind of really started then. Hamza said that he was going to create this community where he was just going to teach people how to build and sell all these automations completely for free. Wow. And then now fast forward to today, we're now co-founders in this community of one of the fastest growing AI and automation education platforms on planet Earth.
Wow.
Which is so cool. Yeah. And we have just under 15,000 members in the community.
Jeez, well, that's amazing, right? So, took on the opportunity, right?
Yeah.
A prime example of having to pivot with the business, right? So, we always, stress this to our entrepreneurs is that, when something's not working, you got to pivot, right? And when you're an entrepreneur, right? You have that skill set. So, we always encourage people to say, listen, when your business should never be, a straight line. It always goes up, you get stagnant, then you pivot, you go up and stagnant, you pivot. Those are the best companies that always come up with new products, new services, and stuff like that. So it's great to know that that's the approach that you took. Now, my question is, when you're approaching these businesses, even with the software sales, were a lot of them resistant? What were you targeting? Were you targeting big businesses? Were you targeting little businesses? How were you getting these early sales? Because, I get emails every day, 20, 30 emails and LinkedIn messages. Saying, hey, buy my stuff. And and you're like, no. So, I read a great, it's all reality, and there's a great book. It's, it's a great book. It's called Begging the Buy for You. And basically what he says is the analogy is that, you're on this side of the river and you're trying to convince somebody to cross the river. Yeah. And you say, come to my side, it's so much better. We got food and stuff like that. And there's, perhaps wolves on the other side, but people don't want to make that jump, right? Mm-hmm. So how do you put that stepping stone so that they can take that first step before they make that full jump over? So how did you kind of approach these people with your sales opportunities?
Yeah. The first thing I did is I understand completely about the cold email and all of that stuff. Exactly. I get so many as well. And
it doesn't work, right?
It doesn't work. Yeah. And so I knew that going in because my background was in sales. I kind of knew what worked, what didn't. Yeah. And the one advantage that I had, which everyone has, is that you are local to your own local market. Mm-hmm. So instead of going cold to a complete stranger, I would go to places that I was frequent, where I lived and just around me, businesses that locally knew me. Sure. And I started there. Perfect. So I would walk into my local barber shop or my local restaurant, people that saw me frequently, and I would introduce myself and what I do. And I built my base just locally in my Toronto area.
Yes.
And that was so much easier than if I tried to cold call a complete stranger and convince them to, take a chance on me or, end up in their spam box in their email. So I started locally. I built up my reputation there. I did a lot of free trials at the beginning. I was in no rush to make this work. I was in the long haul. So I did value first. I was like, I'm going to build this out for you at no cost. Try it out. No worries. And then I set up these free trials. I delivered heavily as much as I could. And then once they started seeing results, then I would go in back for payments and all of that stuff. But I think that's the best way to start, especially if you're unproven. It's lead with value, prove yourself first, because why else would anyone take a chance on you? And that's really what I did. And then from there, for a lot of my first clients, no, I didn't even ask for payment. In exchange for the work that I did, I was actually just asking for referrals. So I said, you know, I'm going to build this out for you. Can you, if you like it, give me 3 or 4 introductions.
So it's a great story because there's a brand called Smart Suites, and that's exactly what she did. Is she basically created an email list of her 100 closest people that were a part of her journey, right? And she just started sharing all the wins and all the losses that she's had with them too. But then those people became champions of her product, and then they kind of introduced them to, maybe these 100 people then reached out to 10 people each, and that's 1,000 people. And then those people reached out to 10 people, and now she sold the company for a couple $100 million, and based on that model of just building a trusted network, sharing everything with them, the good, the bad, and then those people became champions for her product. That's almost the same model you did. Is just saying, listen, I'm going to provide you a value opportunity here. Not going to cost you anything, and all I ask you in return is trust me that I can do this for other people and make those introductions. And then from that one, you got more introductions, more. So how many clients are you working currently with now on all this AI and automation?
So I've paused or slowed down the agency side since I've switched to the education model, which we can talk about. But right now I have about 40 plus different businesses that I'm still working with.
Fantastic.
A lot of it is like working on autopilot, because once I build up the initial workflow, it's like there's not much required on my part. Other than maintenance, if the ChatGPT like hallucinates or something or says something wrong,
well, that's
maybe I'll
exactly
jump in. But
so at what point does do you have to retrain it, right? Because it's almost gone onto its own little tangent there too, right? So how often, once you create a model, are you going in there to edit the model or fine tune it? If you
depends on the complexity of what the job is. If it's basic customer support, then it doesn't require that much.
Okay.
But if it's something that's like sales based, then you got to keep trying new things to see what are people responding to. If the market shifts a bit, then you have to kind of adjust your bot. That requires more like monitoring. But now I have a team, so my team monitors it. They give feedback, like this needs to be tweaked or this and that.
But it sounds like the education is more important, because even just recently in the news, I'm sure you've seen about like triage in healthcare, how they're trying to use AI. It's not really working, but it's just a lack of education that they're just not. They're relying on this bot to be perfect. Essentially, they're relying on it to be almost like fully triage patients. So education is probably just more needed, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
It's like training a pet almost, right? You can't expect to just get a pet that is gonna sit and sleep. But the more training you do, the better that pet is, right? And that's kind of the same thing. It's like you're training your own bot, your own AI. And then the good thing is that you have record and audits of that all too. So you can always go back and change a couple of parts, right? So that's such a fantastic. So now we talked about the agency, but I really want to talk about the education side. A great social opportunity to provide education, and you have 15,000 members currently on it. So what does this training look like? Do you guys do weekly videos? Do you guys do tutorials? Like, how are you guys educating the global mass?
So right now, we have 2 communities right now. We have our incubator community, which is the free one, and then we have our accelerator program. And our accelerator program is comprised up of this team of Avengers that Hamza kind of put together. So it's Hamza, our make.com specialist, automation specialist, AJ. He's currently in Australia, so just outside Sydney, Australia. And then we have Barish, who's our website, landing page, school community kind of strategist. He's in Atlanta. I'm in Niagara Falls and Toronto, and Hamza's in Toronto. So you can only imagine what scheduling time for all of us to meet kind of looks like.
Australia guy.
Exactly. It's awesome. We're making it work. But so in our accelerator community, we have 2 weekly calls. So on Mondays we have our sales and client acquisition strategy calls. So we'll open it up to all the members. So anyone who's a member of the accelerator, they can come in and join, pop in, ask a question, share what they're currently working on, a win, a lesson they've learned or whatever. So we kind of treat like the first half of the call as kind of like a Q&A session. And then this later half of the call, we'll do it as kind of like a tutorial. So we'll say like, okay, here we're on this call today. We're going to learn how to send a cold Instagram DM, or here's some tips on cold calling, or here's how to send 1,000 cold emails a day. So it's like, we'll kind of cover a whole bunch of different things and kind of stagger it over the course of the calls. And then Thursdays is the tech and automations calls, which is hosted by AJ and Hamza. So if members of the community are working on a build, or they're working on a workflow and they need some more insight, guidance on like how to actually do it or optimize it and make it better, they can join that call and do that too as well. And then there's also access for us to shed some light on like, how to build relationships, how to network. They can schedule calls with me for that. Anything on the tech and automation side, they have access to Hamza and AJ, and then anything from the website strategy side, they have access to Bar. So it's kind of like this full encompassing business machine that we just kind of like put together.
I like
yeah.
that, not the Avengers. I like that Avengers
Yeah.
technology.
Yeah.
So, and you have some bright pupils, or do you find that it's good participation? Do you find that people are finding it useful so far?
Yeah, so I talk with every single person that comes through onto the calls. So people who schedule one-on-one calls that come through our accelerator program. And what I have found and share this obviously with the rest of the team, it's a lot of business professionals that come through. It's a lot of people who are probably plus 30, plus 35, who have a lot of business experience. Shout out Dan.
Plus 35.
Yeah, who have a lot of experience. We have aerospace engineers. We had consultants from the UN. I recently got off a call 2 days ago with someone who took a e-commerce product from 3.5 million to 30 million in revenue. So it's like we got a team of like heavy hitters in here, and they all recognize the importance and opportunity of AI and automations, and they're looking to get educated in this and to ultimately optimize their business or optimize the business for their clients or whoever they have. So yeah, we have people from all over the world. We have people from the UK, Singapore, Australia, Canada, all across the US. It's pretty far out.
Yeah. And are you finding that there's a specific sector? Is it mostly e-commerce people that are coming on there, or is it anybody that's trying to learn?
It's usually one or two things that I've found. It's either people who come from like the coding and super tech based type industries, or it's people who are amazing at sales and communications and have scaled businesses to do XYZ amount in year in revenue. So those are kind of like the two strong parallels.
So you're not really focusing with amateurs or students, you're focusing with professionals that are looking to advance their careers.
Yeah, that seems like what seems to be like the avatar that has been. We have had students join too as well. We actually recently had a foreign exchange student come through the program, and he was able to solidify about 5 clients doing all bunch of restaurant automation, kind of like creating like loyalty and fan clubs for restaurants. And he's he joined the program saying that he needs to make XYZ amount of money in order to continue his education through school, and he did it, and so far so good.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
And so I mean your success rate is pretty high with people coming through and then applying it, because oftentimes you go to professional development courses or you do some stuff online, and how often do you apply that? But it seems that people are applying the tactics and the strategies you guys are providing on and getting results.
Yeah, 100%. And one of the things that's interesting about one of our program is that we actually we treat it like a school. We do homework. Yeah. Like we ask for homework submissions. So people will go ahead and submit their homework, and then Hamza and AJ, they grade them. They grade them, give them feedback on them. And, and it's like we'll have like different challenges too as well. And also Hamza gets a lot of inbound clients as well. So in the accelerator program, we'll actually post job opportunities for people. So it's like, hey, we have this restaurant that needs this, or we have this plumber who needs this appointment-based automation. Okay, which builder wants to team up and do this? So not only are we, when we first started this, it was primarily based on education, and obviously it is, but now it's kind of like we can act as a staffing agency to have access to like some of the best automation and AI builders on earth that we can team up with to any sort of large scale project or small business that needs it. We have the tools and resources just to connect the dots with that.
That's fantastic. And how long is this accelerator program typically?
So the accelerator was launched in June. So we have 2 programs.
Yes.
The one that Matt's been talking about is the accelerator. So that's like our paid program where like the best students out of those 15,000 will participate.
And do you guys hand select those students, or do they just apply?
They apply for it.
It's,
And how long is that actual accelerator program?
It's indefinite, like it's ongoing.
Okay, cool.
We've just started charging for the year instead of on a monthly basis.
And what's a fee for something like that?
So right now it's around $2,000 per year. But based on capacity, we keep increasing the price because our time is finite.
Yeah.
And
then my question then goes to say, listen, you're going to be at some point where you're going to get too big to do everything yourself. So how do you find talent that can, offset some of the things that you guys are doing? Because obviously you guys are leading into being experts in this, and it's going to be hard to find that raw talent in a relatively new technology.
100%. And that's one of the great things that comes with school.com, which is the platform that we post and host everything on, is
School, you got school.com.
Yeah, school.com. Yeah, so
That's
it's
a branded move.
yeah, exactly. Yeah. So so that's the platform that we host everything on, and we can see how active people are inside school. So it will actually show a leaderboard. It will show how involved they are, if they're participating in stuff, if they're coming to the calls, if they're submitting homework, if they're posting wins in the chat and letting us know, like, we just signed a client for this. We actually had one. I think Thomas is from Montreal. Or where is he from?
Vancouver.
Vancouver. He just signed Hamza connected him. He just signed a $20,000 client. It's like all these different things. So it's like we're really putting the onus on like making sure that we get everyone that's in the community these best results as possible.
Yes.
And that's it. And then from there we'll be able to see who really is taking the bull by the horns, and then we can kind of bring them in for different things that we need.
So it seems, and sorry, I'm kind of talking a lot here.
I'm learning a lot.
Yeah. So if I'm understanding this correctly, it seems that a lot of focus is on reaching out to for your customers, for them to reach out to potential clients.
Mm-hmm.
Whether it's creating a cold campaign or something like that too. So is that where you're focused mostly on your AI for clients? Is that what they're mostly interested in? Say, listen, I need this tool to get more customers.
Right.
Yeah.
Not necessarily to automate my work, but to get more customers.
You're growing like sales teams more?
So they actually come in with the intention of being entrepreneurs. That's really what we're doing, because I'm basically just documenting everything that I've done to start my automation agency.
Sure. And
I've just made that into a course. So when I made those videos showcasing the stuff that I've built on TikTok and Instagram, I wanted businesses to reach out to me and sign up for my services.
Yes, of course.
But what ended up happening is I just got entrepreneurs or people who wanted to start businesses. Mm-hmm. They're like, oh, this is so cool. Can you teach me how to do this as well? So that's how this idea for the course started, where I didn't intend to do it, but there was just so much demand from regular people who were like, I want to do this as well. Please show me how. Then I built the course to actually showcase that. So a lot of the people are just aspiring entrepreneurs. They want to learn how to sell it, how to create agencies, sell automations the way that I did. So that it's a two-part focus. It's learning automations, but also how to sell them as well. So the same process I told you about reaching out to your network and doing the referral strategy, that's what I tell them as well. It's the same thing.
And can anybody, because you guys are quite frequent, you said Mondays and Thursdays, you're meeting and then there's homework and do so. If somebody takes one of your training platforms, how much commitment do they have to make on a weekly basis? Like, let's say they have a full-time job. I'm looking at myself right now. Hey, dude, no, can
you get him into the accelerator?
Yeah, exactly. No. But seriously, even just a lot of our companies that work out here, they can use that to help with the, the famous line is that sales cures all, right? And but it's hard to get those sales in such a competitive world where you're getting 100 emails a day from cold. So obviously you found a formula that works, right? Mm-hmm. So how much commitment do these people have to put into training their models perhaps or developing the skills as part of your accelerator?
Yeah, it's not as much as you'd think. Like, the course is pretty succinct. It's not that difficult to learn everything that I've learned, because I've condensed it, so thoroughly. And because these tools are very simple to learn, it's not that complicated. It's plain English, really. Yes. What prompting is. You're just writing basically instructions. So as long as you can follow the course, which you can complete in less than 2 weeks, and then just start selling.
Okay, wow.
The technical stuff is not that hard. Once you start selling, you speak to businesses, you understand what problems they have. Then you come back to us and say, hey, I just spoke to this business. They listed all of these problems. Now, how can we approach this, or what can I build for them? Mm-hmm. Then we provide our input and we say, okay, use this tool and, set this up and do this and that. That's really where the learning happens. It's the tangible experience, not just watching videos that I made.
And this is all based on the ChatGPT AI, or is there other AI softwares?
There's other AIs. They have their benefits. Yeah. I love ChatGPT. I've been using it since it started.
Yeah.
I don't have the time to extensively test all of them. So I'm happy if ChatGPT works, I'll work with that.
Sure.
The others are better at like problem solving or like creativity, and some are good for coding. ChatGPT, I think, is good across the board. So I stick with it.
Beautiful.
And one of the things too is like we get everyone set up what's called like a tech stack. So it's just like, okay, like, do you have like a Fathom note taker? Do you have a Firefly note taker? Do you have your Hexona license set up in place? Do you have your make.com workflow? Like, do you have all these new modern AI tools and automation tools like set and ready to go? So whenever the problem comes in, it's just like, okay, so say this barbershop needs an appointment setting system. Okay, now we gotta get our AOs. We call it, we're that's what we're calling every one of the community is AOs, automation operators.
No, AO.
To think like an
AO.
AO. Think like an automation operator where you can hear this problem and then in your brain you can diagnose, okay, well, I need to use this platform to connect this, to have this trigger, to go ahead and sequence this workflow. So it's like that's how we're getting our AOs to kind of think, by adopting all the knowledge that they get with these tools and then applying it.
That's awesome. AO. That's there's a family that went to my high school, and all their first names were A and the last name started O, so we used to call them AOs.
Oh, nice.
So they did it first.
You might want to check out that
That's
copyright.
it. Yeah, copyright, yeah.
Shout out to AO.
Yeah.
I haven't seen you in high school, but hopefully still doing good. That's
No,
fantastic.
that's wonderful. It sounds like it's a very, very, very collaborative approach. Do you find that it's even between your AOs, like, is it getting competitive already, or is it still, it's very early, very new, everyone's still working together, they're, it's not stepping on each other, it's not a super competitive market yet, it's kind of, is that why you think it's taking off?
That's one of the things that actually we strongly encourage inside of the community is to team up and form partnerships, form collaborations. Like if you know someone that is extremely well versed on the sales side, team up with an amazing builder, team up with a builder, and then just go to work and do that, so that's one of the things that we strongly encourage. There's not really any sort of like cannibalistic or stepping on toes. It's such a brand new industry, and I think that we recognize that we are fairly early into this space, because people are saying that AI is eventually coming to disrupt the workforce, and we are going to be at the forefront of doing that. But it's all, we want to do it in a way that's tasteful, that's impactful, and educate. And that's the biggest thing where we put is like, we want to educate people how to do this. We're not coming to replace your jobs. No. We're coming to give you the tools and the resources to enhance your jobs, make it more efficient, and obviously just get them to ultimately excel.
Yeah, well, I was gonna say, and it sounds like from what you described of the cost and like having a couple of, it's a pretty low startup cost. Like if someone did want to take this as, like you said, an entrepreneurial approach and just have a couple of clients, they say, I want to make, $50,000 in 3 months, or like they kind of revenue map it, and then the startup cost, it doesn't sound very high.
Yeah. And that's the way we priced it, kind of like that, was just if it's $2,000, you get 2 clients at $1,000, you're paid for the whole year to have access to the community, all the sales masterminds, all the automation masterminds, special guests that we bring in, like be part of the network. That's the biggest thing, right? Exactly what you do here at the hub, right? Exactly. Is to have the
my
best.
Next point.
Yeah, exactly, right? Is to have like the great networking skills to go ahead and do that, because if Bashar didn't introduce me to Hamza, and then Hamza didn't create the Automation Institute with these 3 other partners, then this conversation wouldn't be happening right now.
No, it's amazing. So 2 questions. First part question is so you created this accelerator this year in 2020?
In June.
In June. And how's that retention rate for your clients? Are you seeing people stay on it? Do they learn and then leave, or are they just kind of like, hey, you know what, I'm going to pay for this forever because it's always new content?
Yeah.
How you finding it? Yeah.
When it was first launched, it was made more so for the education side, less so for the sales side. So people would watch it, they would finish all of the content, and then their job was kind of done at that stage.
Yes.
Then they would kind of quit. But now what we've done is we've kind of made it make more sense to be like a longer term project. So now we only do annual upfront pricing.
Okay.
So they join in, and then we don't really have to worry about the retention or the churn. They stay in for the year. They're locked in.
But after that year, can they continue on with that?
Yeah.
Because
So
you guys
they
are always
stay.
providing new content.
Exactly.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And we're in a space that's consistently evolving.
Well, that's
right?
exactly. And you guys
So-
are the teachers, the masters, right? So that was the first part. So thank you for answering that. And second one is that obviously Hamza, you were in McGill and in Montreal and a couple other places too, Toronto. You witnessed the hub, been to the hub. So first of all, your thoughts, and second, do you think something like this could have helped you accelerate your business faster?
Yeah. 100%. Like if I was at the hub when I was starting out with all of this stuff, I would be talking to everybody here, telling them all about my services. My life would be so much easier. Yeah. But I had to kind of start with my local area, and people who might not know me that well, business owners that maybe might not be as innovative.
Yes.
But if you're here at the hub and you're around all of this stuff, then it'd be a lot easier. So I was telling Matt today, I would love to work here, a couple more days, because I've been coming in with him. It's been fantastic. So I never had anything like this starting out. Like I'm still by myself. I work at home. Like it's very isolated. So
come here,
this
man.
is a really cool.
Right across the street from the GO station.
He's living at Casa de Matt Anthony right now.
Oh yeah,
that's fantastic.
Yeah,
I heard
so
there's an
it's
open bar there.
That's great. Yeah. You are right.
That is fantastic. No, and honestly, I feel like we can talk about this forever. I mean, because we probably bring it back and learn more. And have you ever thought of just joining on a regular podcast and kind of educating people that way, so that you can use it as a tool to recruit people to your platform? Yeah. So I know Emma didn't talking too much, so please.
No, I was just gonna add to the point about the hub and just that bringing like the community here. Yeah, if you ever wanted to organize a pupils meetup, I don't know if anyone is, in the falls, if any of your pupils or if they're from Niagara, if you want to just grow it and do it as like an open opportunity for our entrepreneurs to learn, and our startups to learn.
Almost like an open AI.
Yeah, totally. We definitely want to do
AI
we want to do a networking event too, or like a workshop kind of education. We're currently building out some stuff too on the back end of like corporate training.
Yes,
so it's like
of
that's one thing that we're very bullish on is like going into these different large scale conglomerates or organizations like the hub and educating the entire team of like, here's all the tools and resources that you could use. It's going to save you time by doing this, et cetera, et cetera. The other aspect to the business too is it's still in the early kind of like development stages, but we're testing out different AI products that we can eventually sell that can operate kind of like as like a standalone like type service.
You know what? Yeah, I see these posts on LinkedIn all the time of that. There's like hundreds of these tools, and this does that, and this does that. Are you building a solution that is more of a one-stop shop? Because I'll be honest, like, there's too many. Like I'm overwhelmed.
There's a lot of and the thing is with a lot of these like AI, like a lot of them are like super hyper specific. So right now, our partner AJ is building out this this AI product called Bid Genie. And it's essentially like Bid Genie.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, wow.
So you know how construction companies or large scale enterprises go and put bids in for jobs?
Oh, yes. Like a tender.
Exactly. So essentially you go ahead and give it this prompt and then it will essentially diagnose you with an award-winning bid and handle the entire process for you from A to Z, making the bid's job, focus on reviewing, refining, and doing it, but it's going to do 90% of all the legwork for you.
So that is for the person looking to receive bids.
Yeah. Or vice versa, or just get educated. Either way, but mostly for the people who are looking to submit bids for projects.
Oh, submit bids. So maybe Tom.
It writes
I
bids.
was just gonna say
it writes bids. It does. Yeah. So it's a lot
One
of
of
stuff.
one of our last guests, Tom Rankin, founder of one of the largest construction companies in the country, pretty much.
Great.
He could probably use a
little
tool
bid
like
genie.
that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because
It's your magic bid genie in your pocket to go ahead and bid to it.
I need a bid genie. That's it. Trademark that.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's fantastic. Well, I know that we're cutting close to our time here too. So, and any last things you guys kind of want to share about, what are your next steps? What's the next 3 months look like for you guys?
Yeah. So, what we've done is we've formed what we call the Automation Institute.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the parent company that owns both the accelerator and the incubator programs. And what we're looking to do is really be the authority in this space because, again, like we're saying, it's all very new.
Yes.
And when businesses when businesses are approached by automation operators, what we want it to be is them asking, are you certified by the Automation Institute? Mm-hmm. Like we want to be that authority or that standardized process that anyone who wants to be in this space goes through. And we provide them with certifications and licensing that, we vouch for these people who are going to the market and everyone else.
Micro-credential, if you will.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So that's really what I want to do. And I have some trips planned in the US to go to some conferences to kind of spread the awareness, maybe do some, speaking events and workshops because now we're in that mode. Like the social proof is there. We've established what we've done. We have fantastic results and testimonials.
Yes.
Now it's just about getting the name out there and establishing ourselves as that authority.
Oh, happy to help promote you guys too, and happy to even talk to you offline about some opportunities here for all of our members. I think they need to learn this skill, right?
Yeah.
If you want to compete,
It's a future-proof skill.
Especially as a startup. I mean, you're already getting eaten alive by all the big companies, so the only way to compete with them is to outsmart them with technology, right? Yeah. And unfortunately, when you're a startup, you only have so much funds to grow a team. Why have to grow a team when you can use technology to do a lot of that work for you? So
100%.
I know that a lot of our companies will benefit from listening to this podcast, but also benefit from knowing you and talking to you.
Absolutely.
And on that note, how can our followers and listeners, how can they connect with you guys?
Yeah, so here comes the plug. So if you guys are interested in learning about the Automation Incubator and the Accelerator, you guys can go to automationinstitute.ai. You'll find all of the information listed on there. You'll find a little bit of background about each of the respective co-founders of the whole institute, and as well as the list to our incubator and accelerator programs.
I was just going to say, or you can come visit Matt and Hamza
at the hub.
At the Niagara Falls
Absolutely.
Innovation
Yes,
Hub.
absolutely, yes.
Call them, make an appointment. But
absolutely.
There'll be a line up out the door for this
Yeah.
podcast. I know that's fantastic. And then any socials that they can follow you guys on?
Yeah, automation.institute, or honestly, following Hamza's personal brand is a massive catalyst to do this, and he's being extremely humble because of this. But
Over 100,000 followers.
he provides a lot of value on there. So yeah, go ahead and plug your
Yeah,
plug
my
behind us.
TikTok and Instagram is Hamza_automates.
Okay, awesome.
Yeah.
I love that too. And then Emma, where can people listen to this
Of
podcast?
course, we're here in the Niagara Falls Innovation Hub. We have all of our socials, of course, under NF Innovation Hub. But this is the Made in the Mist podcast in the Money Mint podcast studio, found on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and we have a YouTube channel even, because this will be a video podcast as well.
Sweet.
And I think this warrants a Bitco Part 3.
Yeah, I think so. I think
Well,
so.
I was
Yeah.
going to say, because one of Dan's questions about the retention, we'll call you next year when we see. We'll see next
Yeah,
year.
absolutely.
Let's do it.
And
100%.
again, Matt, thank you so much for bringing Hamza
Thank you.
along. And, thank you guys for making that connection. I certainly learned a lot. I know Emma did too, and I know a lot of our listeners will too. So until next time, thank everybody for listening. This, again, Made in Mist podcast, Money Mint podcast studio, Niagara Falls Innovation Hub. And we'll look forward to talking to you guys next time.